Fear. Back in ancient times, there existed a multitude of threats to humanity. Our ancestors had to face dangers like dinosaurs, saber-toothed tigers, and man-eating titans. At least I think so. I wasn't the best at history. Anyways, with these threats, fear was a necessary emotion for human survival, a way to keep us from dying. But fast forward to today, and we don't face the same level of threats. Therefore, humans have needed to find other ways to be scared, to scratch that fear emotion. And then the horror genre was born. And I don't mean to brag, but I've had my fair share of experience with some of the scariest stuff the horror genre has to offer, like Scooby-Doo. Alright, yeah, I can't do horror stuff. And I feel that way especially with horror games. The fact that most are first person and you have full control over everything that happens and can interact with everything yourself just makes it so much more immersive and in turn, that much more horrifying. And so I never played them. The closest thing I've ever gotten to playing a horror game is when I watch a Corey Kenshin video. And even then, I make sure to check the most replayed part so I know when the jump scares are. Please tell me I'm not the only one who does that. Today, I'll be going over the 3 major reasons why I can't with horror games. And the first and no doubt biggest reason are the jump scares. Now, jump scares can come in many forms. It can happen like this, or like this, but jump scares in horror games are scary. Five Nights at Freddy's was the first exposure I had to jump scares in horror games. And I don't know much about the franchise because the lore in games are pretty confusing. There's like 20 different games: Five Nights at Freddy's 1, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Sister Location, Ruin, Secrets of the Mimic, Help Wanted. Shit's like the Fate series version of horror games. The only thing I really care about in the franchise is Security Breach Glamrock Roxy, cause
weird, buddy. You're weird.
I don't know, there's just something about knowing something could come, but not knowing when it will that makes it frightening. That was probably a terrible explanation for why jump scares are scary, but hopefully you get the point. But while Five Nights at Freddy's was my first experience with jump scares in horror games, the games with the scariest jump scares in my opinion is the Fears to Fathom series. And what I think makes it so scary is the immersiveness. The atmosphere, the music. Since it's based on realistic situations, you really feel more like you are the character. And I can't deal with that. And that's also why I don't think I'd survive a single one of these horror games. I mean, if you think about it, I technically could, only because I wouldn't get myself in that situation to begin with. Like, seeing some of these horror game characters really makes me think about how dumb you gotta be to get yourself in this situation. For example, Five Nights at Freddy's original. Don't take the job. Simple. I don't know the financial situation of the character we're playing as, and frankly, I don't really care. All I need to know is that my life ain't worth no $4 an hour. We can set up a GoFundMe, I'll beg on the streets, I'm not putting my life in danger for no $4 an hour. What's that? You get an extra 50 cents on the 6th night? Shit, I take back everything I said. Put me in the game, coach! Hello neighbor. Maybe don't enter another man's house. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. How about leaving the Pizzaplex when you're supposed to? Finding Frankie. Well, in order to enter the games, you need to get a ticket found only in Frankie's cereal. I don't eat cereal, so I'm good for that one. Fears to Fathom Carson's house. The only danger is the character's crazy ex-girlfriend, and to be honest, that wouldn't be a problem for me, cause I don't have an ex. But let's say, just for fun, we can avoid getting into the situation. What would I do then? Let me just run you down on my very carefully planned strategy. Yeah, I'm cooked. At the end of the day, I'm just a human. I can't work miracles. I don't know who you think I am. Cause not only would I have to face the jump scares, I'd also be getting chased by these various threats, aka chase scenes. The second reason why I do not mess with horror games. I've always hated the feeling of being chased. Even when I was a little kid playing tag. Whenever I tagged someone and they started running after me, I low-key get scared, I'm not gonna lie. Chase scenes in horror games are basically like tag, but instead of being it, you just die. And instead of the chaser being a little kid, it's a 19-foot cartoon cat-ass monster. That's Poppy's Playtime Chapter 1. In this game, the chase scenes involve getting chased by this monster, Huggy Wuggy, and it's terrifying. The way the thing moves is just too realistic, and on top of that, he's pretty damn fast. And it doesn't help when the character you're playing as apparently has the max speed of a grandma in a wheelchair. Cause tell me why this character is in a life or death situation, speed walking. And if somehow I was able to get through the chase scenes, there's one final reason why I cannot play horror games. The puzzles. Now, puzzles are a key part to horror games. They give variety to the gameplay. So instead of just mindlessly running or something, players actually have to use their brains to think of solutions on how to survive or beat the game. And while having these types of things make sense, at the same time, critical thinking and fear are two things that do not go together. And I don't know about you, But if I'm trying to survive, my brain is not going to be focused on how to solve puzzles and think critically. And sometimes these game developers make these puzzles hard as hell.
What?
For example, Amanda the Adventurer. Now, in this game, puzzles are the main way to progress. You need to find new tapes in order to watch more film. What makes it so hard though is the fact that it's always the most random objects that are clues to solve the puzzle. Like if there's a code to open up a box that holds a tape, one of those numbers is going to be like under an apple, in a bin full of apples, behind the stack of books, on the third shelf. Watching other players play that game, I just know if I ever played it, I would never get close to finishing it. I'd probably get stuck on the first puzzle. So yeah, those were all the reasons why I don't play horror games. The only one I'd ever consider playing is Little Nightmares, just because there's like no jump scares, and also it's not first person. As always, thanks for watching.